The podcast you're about to listen to contains horribly offensive language, crude humor, and countless spoilers for things we guarantee haven't been spoiled for you yet. Listener discretion is advised. If you're listening to this in a public place without headphones, you should probably use headphones. This podcast isn't safe for work, or home, or school, or your headphones. In fact, you should probably stop listening. Want to skip to a specific section of the show? The episode description contains a handy index with timestamps to help you do exactly that. Now sit back, relax, and listen to Two Fat Guys Talk. Greetings, folks. Carlos here. In this episode of Two Fat Guys Talk, we had a bit of an issue. Basically, where Dave and I were recording was very hot. We had a fan on. And in the last podcast, the same thing happened, but we were talking loud enough that I could easily take the noise of the fan out without affecting our voices. This time, we both got a little complacent, a little comfortable in the fact that we were recording something we've done countless times before. And instead of speaking loudly, we spoke very soft, and the fan cut into it quite a bit, more than I could remove. So, there are going to be parts that seem very disjointed because I removed whole sections that didn't sound quite right or were downright unlistenable. The parts that remain, some of it sounds okay, some of it doesn't. Our sincerest apologies, and we'll look not to make this mistake in the future. Oh, and one more thing. We were talking about World of Warcraft Legion. We now know the expansion name. We were talking about the upcoming expansion. This was supposed to be released before today. So we didn't know things like how there was a Legion invasion. And funny enough, we started talking about double jumping, not even in an MMO context, after we talked about WoW. And what do you know? WoW Legion has a class that can double jump. So I thought that was a little funny. But if you want WoW Legion news, we're not going to be providing it. This is a little trip back in time before we even knew it existed. But yeah, again, apologies for the sound issues. I'll salvage what I can. Enjoy.
Hey, girls.
Hi, Dave. How's it going?
Pretty good. Yourself?
I'm alright. I'm okay, I guess. My ass has been itching a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is episode 73 of Two Fat Guys Talk. Thunderous Rising. Only Windows 10 can toe the line between love and hate.
This is a good title. I believe this is the greatest title we've ever had for a podcast. It conveys two of the many things we're going to talk about.
I think, much like everything else concerning you, I've had that.
Oh, wow. That's a backhanded backhand.
What you been up to?
I have been doing so many things. I've been doing much more investigation into freelancing as a career, writing a business plan for it, mostly for my own purposes. A piece of writing that won't get used anywhere but in my own mind, and that's fine, because when you write, 99.9% of everything you write never sees the light of day. This is the reality of writing. I have been playing a variety of games, and by a variety, I mean mostly Hearthstone, fighting games, including Rising Thunder, which we will talk about in a little bit. And I've been enjoying our no longer smoke-filled environment here, with summer weather that has gone from obscenely hot to bearable, and from smoky to not smoky.
We've done the gambit of hot summer weather to fall-style weather.
We've done the gambit. It's not you're not purposely sacrificing a chess piece to gain greater revenge, and you're not talking about a Marvel character.
I'd like to sacrifice something.
Yeah, and that's our refined English sensibilities.
Right. Myself, I have been playing The Witcher 3 primarily.
Mm-hmm.
Little bit of Guild Wars 2, just because we're in a holding pattern now while we're waiting for the next expansion.
Yep.
And that's just about it. I've barely turned on any of my consoles, barring when you've been over.
Nice. That's fine. I am a pretty inspiring person.
I will say, though, that the massive list that keeps on growing for compatibility with the PlayStation TV, they've actually added a bunch of the games that I wanted to play on it that I owned.
Like that terrible Japanese Yuki-Una game, which looks like garbage.
I think that had compatibility day one.
That game looks like garbage.
I have not seen it, therefore I will just say okay. Funny enough, the Castlevania games still aren't playable on PlayStation TV. But then again, it's Konami.
It's
I'm not
Konami.
surprised.
Like they don't make anything playable on any platform ever.
I mean, yes, I will complain at Sony for not making a bigger deal about the fact that developers are actually supporting the fucking PlayStation TV by making their games compatible. But Konami just sucks.
They do it.
That brings us on to our first topic of the day, or at least our first section.
What's our first section called?
Time jumps and fist bumps, where we talk about games and software.
We got a pretty big. Yeah, I should probably add that.
Yeah,
some title that encompasses that. Time jumps and fist bumps and software. That sounds like something like that, but not nearly as dumb.
Yeah, I'll come up with something better next time.
Yeah.
So first thing today is Blizz, their new WoW expansion, not being announced at BlizzCon, but being done at Gamescom.
They announced that the new expansion would be announced in less than a week from now, which is shocking, because since BlizzCon has started, there has not been a WoW expansion that has not been announced at BlizzCon. They not only are going to announce it in less than a week from now, they announced that they were going to announce it in less than a week from now. And BlizzCon is just a couple months away, so...
I can guess why they did this, though.
Subscription numbers?
No. Though that might be a factor.
People upset that Archimon is the last boss of Warlords of Draenor?
Is that guaranteed now?
Well, there might be another content patch with some extras to tide over, but yeah, narratively, 6.2 was the last one.
I didn't know that. Though I did just get a 7-day please return to WoW coupon, so maybe I'll activate that and jump back in for a day. Anyway, I think they're doing it because they're going to focus heavily at BlizzCon on the Diablo expansion.
Oh, you think they're going to be in yet another Diablo 3 expansion?
Duh. Yes.
Do you think they're going to go to the Scope of Silence and we're going to see the Amazon return?
I hope so, because the Amazon was my favorite character.
Will there be male Amazons? Playable male Amazons.
I want to say yes, but Blizz has a good/retarded history with sticking to their lore.
Will you be able
until it directly impacts them making money, in which case they change it.
It's fine. I'm okay with changing lore when it means inclusion, although we really don't need a male Amazon. Inclusion is more the other way, where we get female
I
versions.
knew you were
going to
say
classes. However, what I was actually going to ask is, do you think there you will be able to be an Amazon, which is just two little kids dressed up as...
No.
Why not?
I hope it includes the Amazon Isles.
Yeah, we haven't explored it. We've only heard of it. Harsh jungles with a supposedly Aztec-ish great civilization of Amazons, where... Because in Amazon lore, only the women are warriors, but everyone participates in government and society. And something about their bodies being suited to the jungle, as though there cannot be any skinny dude. I take it back. I want male Amazons now. Now I want this. Now you've made it a social justice thing. Now I care.
Does not matter.
But still shocking, this expansion being announced. What do you think it is?
If it's anything short of a Legion-focused expansion at this juncture, I'll be very surprised.
Warlords of Draenor was pretty Legion-focused. There
Okay,
are people who call it the Burning Crusade.
I get that. I do. But the big thing is that we just played through a reimagining of history.
Yep.
And that's fine. What they did in this expansion really did, it was enjoyable, okay?
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of things that were enjoyable, the loot and the special monsters and everything else. It was fun for the most part. There was some things I still would have changed, like raids.
Being able to solo everything, which is my big pet peeve.
That's your pet peeve? I'm okay with 5-man looking for groups. I just want raids to cease to exist. Because I can get behind jumping into a looking for group pretty easily. Should you be able to solo? Sure.
To be fair, you could use just 10-man raid finder if that's
No.
the case. But I think the real issue, like, for me is, yeah, I can do that,
But you don't want to.
And I occasionally jump on and do that because I sometimes want to.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I just think to myself, why can't I do Hellfire Citadel by myself? Don't even give me loot. I just want to see the encounter design.
You want the experience.
I want to see the encounter design, because I'll go play these old raids and solo them, and I'm like, oh man, I wish I could have experienced this back when it came out.
Yeah. I'm not arguing that.
And you know what? I harp on this point all the time when it comes up, so I'll shut up about it now.
We both talked about it, and I agree. Everything, even if you make it into a solo experience where there is no loot, let people experience it without having to wait.
Ironically, I will tell you this about 6.2. Tanan Jungle is not quite as fun as Timeless Isle.
Damn.
I see people calling it Timeless Jungle,
Yeah.
and it has a lot in common, but a lot of the objectives are Guild Wars 2 style, but worse. Even though this is done better in Guild Wars 2, I don't get why MMOs feel the need to have jumping puzzles. Make a fucking platform game if you want to do that. You know what makes me want to platform? Playing a Sonic or a Mario or a Mega Man. When I see that shit in MMOs, I'm like, okay, unless you're gonna give me double jumping and really precise jumps like WildStar, don't fucking do this. WildStar had pretty good jumping.
WildStar was spectacular. I will pick it back up when it goes free to play.
I wish there were single-player games that use the WildStar combat system. That's how good that combat system is. Is it time to hit Argus?
It's
Is it time to invade the Legion homeworld?
It is time to bitch slap
Sargeras.
all of them. This chapter in history needs to finally end.
But here's the problem. If you close the book on the Legion, the only big universal threat you have left are the old gods. And nobody likes the old gods. Not even the old gods like the old gods. The old gods are like, even the Legion would balk at our power. No, I'm pretty sure the Legion kills you in 3 seconds if there's ever a big war.
The problem is the only person who can actually fight an old god is currently captured and sealed away.
Sure, or me, when I went to Cthulhu's lair and I just kicked him in the face.
Okay.
He tried to swallow me. He discovered that was not a good idea.
I've run that raid so many times, trying to get different mounts and pets. It's just so long.
I know, like...
I mean, it's easy. It's so long.
I remember, even when I did Encourage in the original pre-expansion WoW, I remember thinking to myself, even if I liked raiding, I would hate this. The only reason I raided in Vanilla WoW is because I kind of liked the people I was raiding with.
Mm-hmm.
So that tells you something, that this game mode, you need to find excuses and bullshit incentives to make it fun. I think everything should just scale down to 2 or 3 people, and you should be able to get NPCs that count as a party member, like the Old Republic. Or let you use your alts as minions. I kind of like that idea. Gives you a reason to grind up alts.
Back to jumping puzzles, just for a second.
Oh god, jumping. We are going to transition.
Jumping.
You did. I was going to say we're going to transition, and you did. Holy shit. I'm dumb.
Yes, you are.
I'm sorry. What do you think of double jumping in games in general?
it's a very useful mechanic. I think the better question is why do games limit you at certain phases of the game?
Like, to not have double jumping?
Yeah, like, double jumping in anything that would be considered a Metroidvania.
Sure, so the classic example, I guess, would be a Metroid game. No, because you go right from regular jumping to space jumping. So a better example would probably be Alucard in Symphony of the Night. When you get double jump, the whole first castle basically opens up to you.
Yeah, any sort of Metroidvania game in general, other than Metroid itself, has limited you to one jump, and double jump is always what opens up, infinite possibilities for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, in that way, like, double jumping is awesome. And you understand them as a mechanic why they limit you, because if they didn't, you'd kind of rip their tower apart even more than you can by cheating.
Well,
or not by cheating, by exploiting and by using your brains.
I wanted to bring this up as a general topic, just because we've been doing a lot of news in terms of games on this podcast.
We haven't talked about mechanics in a while.
Yeah, kind of granular mechanics talk instead of, news. And it's like double jumping's a thing. And when I was watching Summer Games Done Quick, they were running Super Ghouls and Ghosts for Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
And I noticed they were not double jumping. It turns out that was not in the Japanese version of the game. Double jumping in that game was only in the American version. Or the international version.
I've never played a Ghosts and Goblins game that had double jumping. I'm familiar with... I never even played the NES version. I'm familiar with the Commodore 64 version.
Sure. The Super Nintendo version, the international one, they added double jumping to it.
Huh.
Which, obviously...
Change.
Obviously, if you put double jumping in a game that is not designed around it, you break the game. I can't think of a single game where it's not broken that wasn't designed around double jumping.
Yeah.
It's generally a mechanic I like, but there are different kinds, and we talked about WildStar earlier. WildStar's implementation of double jumping is a little different. Because in most games with double jumping, you could fall out of an airplane, and just before you hit the ground, double jump, and you would completely arrest your downward momentum, and it's back to regular upward momentum, and you would survive that fall. Yeah. That would not help you in WildStar, because WildStar's double jump takes into account your momentum. If you double jump as you're ascending, you get a lot more height. If you double jump as you're descending, at best you kind of get a new Super Mario Brothers style mini hover to keep you from falling right away. But if even that, if you're falling fast enough, that double jump doesn't do shit for you.
It also depends on the character class that you're in.
True.
Like if you were playing the bunny race, don't remember the name.
Yeah, I mean the super sexy.
Yeah.
The girls in that super hot. Holy shit.
If you were dropping like a rock and you tried to double jump, you usually end up doing a dive instead of an actual jump. I like its implementation.
Mm-hmm.
I like the combat system in WildStar. I just wish it didn't get boring, and to try and nickel and dime me in the personal areas.
Now, double jumping is also a big factor in certain fighting games, and one that we've been playing quite a lot of, Dengeki Bunko Fighting Climax, has universal double jumping across the board.
Yep.
Even for characters that traditionally have not had this, like Akira from Virtua Fighter. And it's funny, someone in a tweet, I forget who, mentioned that in every cameo appearance he's made, Akira gets more and more broken. He was in Dead or Alive 5, he's in Dengeki Bunko. I'm pretty sure he's going to be a Mortal Kombat guest character at some point. Because that seems to be the trend for Akira, just branch out to every series.
Sure.
But double jumping in fighters, if it's universal, it changes your approach options dramatically. Lets you bait out an anti-air by just double jumping. It changes up how air footsies work, right? Like, for games that even have it. But then you get fighters where double jumping is not universal, and that is a pretty big deal too, because if you pick Parasol, you do not get air dashes or double jumps whatsoever.
Yep.
So solo Parasol has a difficult time approaching because you have no assist covering you and you don't have double jumps and whatnot. Even Cerebella has a double jump and an air dash. Just a little thought experiment I was thinking of. Like, is double jumping always better? In Mega Man X4, Zero earned a double jump, but X did not. X got a hover and an air dash, which Zero also got an air dash. And Zero is invariably always the better character in any 2D Mega Man game where he and X are in. Except maybe X8.
I don't know. Even in X4, if you got the different pieces of X's gear.
He doesn't even touch Zero. Doesn't even touch Zero, no matter what. This isn't even counting the fact that Zero can do these crazy cancels to delete a boss's life bar in seconds. Even if you don't do that, Zero is too strong in the X games. Especially in X4 where he had infinite weapon energy for all but his shittiest weapon.
Right. Double jumping is just... Here's the thing. In a lot of games, you earn the double jump. You don't start with it. So, when you finally get it, it's like a breath of fresh air. It's like, okay, now my jumps don't have to be, frame perfect to get from place to place. Now I actually have, some leeway. I can get up there now, maybe. Oh, just short. Oh, let's put in, an attack right at the end. Oh, that just got me that extra frame up there. Extra pixel I needed, kind of thing. Double jumping just opens up so much possibility, especially in boss battles.
So how do you feel when a game gives it to you at the beginning?
I'm actually okay with that.
It kind of ruins a bit of that discovery, though, because now the game has, like in a Metroidvania specifically, and in any game in general, the game is already designed around it from the onset, right? Unless it's some kind of weird easy mode where they give you a double jump. So it's not like the double jump opens a world of possibility. This is a part of your arsenal you have to use from the beginning. Even though, to be fair, that's what it is when you discover it anyway. It's just kind of the feeling with it.
I mean, I was going to use Dust as an example of giving it to you from the beginning, but that's wrong. They don't. But even then, there are ways that they can make it so that the double jump doesn't just give you infinite possibilities. You still have to play further in the game to get access to stuff. Like, in Dust, you needed to get certain gear to be able to climb up vine walls to get to places, stuff like that. Like, they still they gave you more options for where you could go, but still said, okay, well, remember this because you're coming back a little bit later to be able to do that kind of thing. It really depends if the double jump is meant to open up areas to you, or if the double jump is just meant as a mechanic to make sure that enemies can't kick your ass, or they've actually designed the game so that double jumping is required.
I definitely think even when the game's designed around it, the double jumping it makes the game feel a lot faster than maybe it really is. Like, could you imagine if an NES Castlevania was made that had double jumping, but the levels were designed around needing it? Even though the levels would be designed around needing it, the game would not feel as, and I don't say this in a negative way, as slow and as kind of methodical as they do. There would definitely be that feeling that you could go a little crazy, even within that tight framework.
Okay, let's take Castlevania, the one that we play on my PS3 every now and then.
Harmony of Despair?
Let's take Harmony of Despair, okay?
Yeah, everyone can double jump off the bat.
Double jump right off the bat.
And both characters can dive kick into another jump to boot.
But the beginning levels also, you kind of had to have that. If you didn't have a double jump, you're pretty much fucked. But where I'm going with this is, remember how much more effective the double jump became once you got the speed boots?
Well, even a single jump is better with the wing boots. But the wing boots should have been baseline as well, though.
I agree with you, but very much so, the wing boots were that game's double jump unlock, really. Because until you had that, it was a slow, plodding mess. The moment you got the wing boots,
it feels right.
It not only feels right, but it's like, a breath of fresh air just suddenly hits you. It's like, holy fuck, I can do shit.
Yeah, when I got wing boots, all I could think of was this is how the game should have been from the beginning.
Yeah.
Even though characters' run animations look weird when you're moving slower than wing boot speed.
Yeah, everything seems slow. Everything seems plodding. And your control of your character is, well, slower. The moment you hit the wing boots, it's like getting the double jump in any other game. It's just,
I definitely think Harmony of Despair needed it needed a little bit less reining in. Like wing boot speed to begin with. Let you aim your weapon swings all around. Give you some combos to play with. That game really
let Alucard fly.
Yeah, that game really needed to be a lot... That game would have been a lot more fun if your movement was a lot more free. Because people exploited what little they had anyway, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, give Soma and Alucard their flight modes, even though Soma can effectively do it anyway.
Yeah.
Give freaking Charlotte her flight mode. She had a flight mode, too.
They should have used characters a lot better. But I didn't bring up that game to
talk about it.
That can be a different topic in our day. But very much that's how I feel about double jump in most games. It's just like it opens up so much opportunity for more exploration, especially if a game like Dust teases you with them. Like I can argue that Symphony of the Night, it kind of teased you, but it was still the extra doorways and everything else were like, okay, it's way the hell up here. It's like, okay, I'm not getting up there anytime soon, and the double jump's not going to help me. But Dust would be like, yeah, it's right here, fucker. Yeah, you can see it. You know if you had double jump, you'd get up there. Come back when you're ready for it.
The irony of the double jump in Symphony of the Night, though, is since it arms you with the dive kick lets you kind of game the system and get to places you shouldn't be able to get to until you get bad anyway.
If you had enemies.
Hell, when you get wolf form, you can do the dive kick, which means you can reach places you need a double jump for early. So,
agreed, but again, double jumping is definitely in the Metroidvania style games. It's your first breath of fresh air for giving you more options. In a fighter, I agree. A double jump may not be needed, but the actual mechanic of it can make certain characters have more mind game styles, like being able to jump towards and then kind of backtrack to get out of anti-airs and stuff like that.
Or to just jump straight up to maintain that kind of pressure, right?
Yes. Double jumping is a mechanic which is very much worthy of being in most games.
Sure. Does it make every game better? Probably. Oh man, could you imagine Mario games with double jumping? Especially the ones that have wall jumping already. So wall jump, double jump back, wall jump, double jump. You'd basically be Mega Man X at that point.
Yeah. So there are some games it's probably good if there isn't a double jump.
No, sure.
But they've given Mario some power-ups that have given him some double jumping like qualities, like his water backpack he had in Sunshine. Turn-based games.
Yeah, you put a link up there.
And specifically, turn-based or Final Fantasy style combat games.
Like JRPG style.
Yes.
Now, when I saw that, and you put a link up to the next Dragon Quest game being turn-based, I'm like, what's David talking about? There are turn-based games all the time. And then I sat down and I thought about it, and I'm like, no, you know what? Even in JRPGs, turn-based is not really becoming the norm. There's usually some kind of janky action, but not quite action-based combat going on. And, yeah, the whole concept of turn-based combat, hell, arguably, Final Fantasy has not had turn-based combat since the NES.
The last turn-based Final Fantasy game?
10 was truly turn-based.
Yes.
The first turn-based FF since FF3
actually,
on the NES.
The last Squaresoft, or Square Enix game that had turn-based would be Bravely Default.
Yeah, technically that's right, because there was no time bars going on. Everyone got a turn every round.
But for an actual full console game, you're correct. The last... Actually, no, you're not. 12.
12 was not turn-based. Are you on crack?
12, you could turn 12 into turn-based.
You could pause and issue actions like in Knights of the Old Republic, but the action's still executed in real time, and you could intervene in the middle, and arguably should. It was not turn-based. 12 was trying to be like it.
You could turn the whole macro system completely off.
I know. It doesn't make it turn-based, though. Just because you can tailor that a bit doesn't make it not turn-based.
My memory of 12 might be a little fuzzy because I hated the game. So.
Oh yeah, it was terrible. It tried to make an MMO combat system work in the single-player mode, but it was the worst MMO combat system. It was like based off something off of FF11.
Combat system wasn't what made me hate that game.
The fact that it was generally deplorable and meandering and had really, really grindy elements are definitely up there too.
Still not talking about why I hated that game.
Vaughn? Is it Vaughn?
Vaughn, Penelope.
Her name is not Penelope. But Penelope had juicy thighs.
Die. I want them both dead.
Oh, they're deplorable.
From the first 20 minutes, I wanted them dead.
I think I told you before who the main character of that game was supposed to be, right?
Yes, you did.
Yeah. And, okay, how much more interesting would it have been if Bosch and Ash were the main characters of that game? Vaughn and Penelope, Tidus' involvement in 10, you wonder why he's the main character to begin with, until you realize why he's the main character.
Yes.
But Vaughn has literally no stake in 12 whatsoever. He's literally just your player avatar, which means if they were going to do that, they should have just let you create an avatar.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if Chrono Trigger was ever remade by Obsidian, which I dream about, Chrono should be one of your default looks. You should be able to just make your character.
I still agree with that. But
I like Chrono, don't get me wrong, but he has delicious thighs himself.
I was more surprised by the fact that Dragon Quest XI was going to have this turn-based system, and this is not the norm anymore. I mean, Final Fantasy VII is getting a new combat system.
Yeah, and 7 wasn't turn-based.
7 used
nothing with the time bar is turn-based.
7 used an ATB kind of turn-based system.
ATB is not turn-based. ATB has a real-world Twitch element to it. And, yeah, any turn-based game becomes Twitch-based when you're speedrunning it. But very few of them become Twitch-based when you just play it normally. And Final Fantasy 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 12, and 13, the series of 13. Yeah, they're all these are not turn-based games. These all have time bars and real-time mechanics. Even 10-2 dropped the turn-based system of 10. 10 was truly turn-based. Like, it was your turn, nothing interrupted it. You could spend an hour thinking about your turn.
Okay. However, you're going to turn this around then.
Mm-hmm.
You could turn that feature on in Final Fantasy VI.
Wrong. If you set the battle mode to wait, you still needed to go into a menu or something to stop time. Which means there's a Twitch-based element. When your menu comes up, time is still going. You need to go into your magic list or your item list, or if your character has a special attack with options, into that list. Time is still...
I've got to give this to you, unfortunately. I actually still consider those to be turn-based games.
Well, to be fair, maybe
it's a modified turn-based system.
I might be being a little obtuse in that I'm trying to play the technicality here.
Yeah.
I'm trying to say technically, I am technically correct. You're not wrong in that it's kind of a turn-based system with a real-time component to it. Like, is Worms turn-based? Yes, technically.
It has a time system to it.
Yeah, it does, and a very twitchy real-time component.
Yes.
It's turns, but inside those turns, you have to do some acrobatics to really be a top player, right?
Especially us with ropes.
Well, not even us with ropes, we are nothing compared to, the real pros playing Worms, right? Ninja rope or not.
Yeah.
And, I mean... So yeah, maybe I'm being a bit obtuse, and Final Fantasy toes the line between the two, but a purely turn-based thing, yeah, that's rare these days.
So yeah, no, I was glad to hear there was going to be a PS4 version of it.
Yeah, I know, that makes you happy.
That wasn't just going to be relegated to another mobile game. as much as the mobile games have been fun, I just kind of sometimes want to have these games on a fall on console game.
My RPG design doc, my multiple RPGs, they're all turn-based. Partly because this way I can theory craft on paper, and partly because I think there is an art to turn-based. Like, I much prefer real-time action games, but there's still a piece of me that likes turn-based stuff. Maybe this might be why I'm playing Hearthstone to death these days. Because I crave this. Even though you can add a real-time component to Hearthstone with a certain card, but...
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The very first Arts and Elko game had some interesting ideas.
Get the hell out.
Where they went from there, though, is they just...
Yeah, they had interesting ideas, like, how creepy can we make a player feel about themselves? How creepy? Let's explore this space.
I meant more going into people's inner minds, a la Psychonauts, and having to fight through their inner demons.
Yes, and nudity. And
well, again,
not even nudity, more like it's not elfin lead levels, but it's
pretty bad.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Again, I said there were ideas.
Like, there's a difference between something like Skullgirls, which is a style, and something like the witch touching game, which is about molestation.
Mm-hmm. No argument there. Speaking about being molested, Fallout 4 and it not having the mod kit on day one. Here's the thing, the fact that they're not releasing the mod kit probably until 2016 is a bad idea for any game made by Bethesda. However, the fact that they're releasing the mod kit later than the game has never stopped modders from making mods that fix the game before the mod kit comes out. So, it's bad, but it's not going to affect those who are going to fix the game before Bethesda gets around to it.
I will admit, this last week I had some fun with the Bethesda game. They were speedrunning the Elder Scrolls Skyrim.
Okay.
And as somebody said on Twitter, I forget who said it, it's like, oh wow, Bethesda games just speedrun themselves. Walking through so many walls, falling through so much geometry, exploiting so much. In terms of watching a game get broken, it still wasn't as fun as every other game in Summer Games Done Quick at all, because it's Bethesda. But man, still enjoyable time. Bethesda releasing a game without all its functionality day one? Shocking. Truly. They really should have that mod kit there.
They really should, but their excuse for not having it day one is that they'd rather put their effort into making the game work properly from day one rather than having modders have to fix it.
I actually applaud this ambition.
But it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, that's the nicest thing I can say. Maybe I'll leave it at that.
I'll say it for you. Not going to happen. A Bethesda game needs 6 months of beta testing to even get it working partially.
Yeah, you need that time to get it from being an unplayable mess to a boring mess. Like, this is necessary. Well, it's okay, if you recall, on social media, a lot more people agree with you than with me on this.
Yes.
But they're wrong.
We're right.
They're wrong. Bethesda's garbage, and produces garbage, and lives in garbage, and wallows in it, and eats it, and shits it, and transplants parts of its body with garbage, and is the embodiment of garbage, and Oscar the Grouch looks at Bethesda and it's like, fuck that shit. I'm not gonna wallow in that garbage. That's too garbage.
You know, they have one very big thing in their category for the win. Even they don't like Aces Wild.
Oh man. See, shoutouts to Kicks, developer of Aces Wild. Dave actually has nothing against Aces Wild. He just can't defend Bethesda to save his life. So, he's attacking something I love. Like, I'm just saying, if given an opportunity to hug the Pokemon Muck, or the anthropomorphic embodiment of Bethesda, I'll hug Muck. I'll lick Muck. I'll fucking press my naked body up against Muck. And I will be cleaner.
Speaking of Muck and things that people have love-hate relationships with,
Windows
10!
Windows 10 is free and so grimy because it starts going, you know what? It's free, right? That means we can install whatever we want on your computer, right? And update however we see fit and not give you options to opt out of that, right? Right.
See, If they had tried to do this on the Pro and Enterprise version, then there would be a fucking revolution against it. But if you bought a computer with Windows 8 or Windows 7 Home, then you're probably stupid enough that you need these updates done for you with no choice. However, there needed to be an option in there to turn driver updates off.
So basically, now that it's something you personally take to heart, that should be in every version. Like, I don't get why it's less grimy just because it's only in the home version. First of all, why are there Pro and Ultimate versions anyway? Why the fuck can't it be one OS? Like, why can't the Ultimate version be the fucking baseline Windows? It's a fucking scam to get people out of their money. And Microsoft does not need that money. Fuck that.
Can't argue that.
It's not less grimy just because you can pay more to have a version that gives you what every version should have. It's still stupid. The home version of any piece of Windows should not still be subjugating you to things you don't want. That's a Mac thing. That's why, even though I used to be a big Mac guy, like, I got out of building Windows PCs and went over to Mac, and now I'm sick of OS X, because this is shit OS X does. They force you to adhere to their vision. And there's no freedom there. There's no freedom to opt out of things, and you shouldn't be bereft of that freedom just because you bought the basic version of software that should have been just as functional as the Pro version anyway. Like, there's a difference between if there's an enterprise version, because perhaps its kernel and its bundled features and its entire engine could be tailored around enterprise needs. That's different. But all the ultimate version of Windows is just a better home version. It's home plus plus. Give us money.
I can't argue this.
Windows 10 does, however, finally feature built-in screen capturing. You can record yourself playing something without needing specialty software to do it.
Yay!
No, that's big, actually. For people like me who have left his Phantasy Star 4 run on hiatus for a year and a half, who want to get back into doing Let's Plays, it's going to be huge not having to configure a streaming service to write to a local file and just the right codec and whatnot. No, it's going to be nice that shit will just work.
I haven't done too much down that level, so I haven't
down that level.
Down
very much so down that level.
Doing Let's Plays and the like, so I haven't run into the issue that you are.
The issue that I am the recording issue. I am the embodiment of screen capture problems.
You are error.
I am error. Hear me, error. It's not pretty.
It's good that the feature's there. I mean, there's a lot that I can say that Windows 10 is doing correct, but there's still things that they're stopping you from doing, unfortunately. I will say that I'm glad there's a Pro version, there's a home version, and there's an Enterprise. Ultimate no longer exists.
There should still be no home and Pro. They should be one thing. They should be the same product.
They should be the same price? I don't know if they should be the same product.
Like,
Pro is really taking Enterprise out of the picture because Enterprise has to be there for businesses.
Yeah, I agree.
Pro has always been there for those who want the additional networking configuration stuff.
Why can't home have those? Why can't it be a switch? A home versus Pro interface.
Okay.
Oh, awesome. Not as much of a fight as I thought you'd put up on that one, but okay. Yes.
I'm okay with that. maybe not just a single switch. Like, you have to actually want to do this and know what you're doing.
Yeah, a switch.
Because you couldn't...
A series of switches? I don't know. A radio button? A drop-down?
No.
However you like. Whatever you want to call it.
Because, I mean, that sort of stuff activates stuff like BitLock.
Fine. That's okay. This is Windows' advantage that Microsoft always touts, that you have unprecedented choice of software and libraries and ability to, like, use Windows as you see fit. Now more than ever, that Windows just natively supports touchscreens and whatnot without needing to have a special OS just for those. It's just like how you can do Control Panel in dummy mode and in every icon's available mode.
Which one's dummy mode, though?
Yeah, I think you and I both know the answer to that question.
Because I automatically changed it to the icons. I'm helping somebody, I haven't changed it to the icons.
Yeah.
But I don't consider that dummy mode, I consider that the best mode.
That's what I'm talking about. Dummy mode is the one where it's like, choose the
Category
general area that you want to affect settings for,
Yeah,
and
category.
then spend 7 years finding your setting.
Category mode, exactly.
Yeah, dummy mode. Dummies. Windows 10!
I'm still not upgrading for at least a month.
I need to wait because mine's still running on my Mac Pro, so I don't know if the camp supports it.
Already read about that, works just fine.
I do want to build a new computer anyways. So.
Next is your topic.
Yeah, I can't see the screen, so you're gonna need to tell me what it is.
Rising Thunder.
Oh yes, Rising Thunder.
I have to leave this completely up to you, because I
gave you the code yesterday. And you could have played 2 matches of this.
I didn't play any games last night.
Oh my god, okay. Rising Thunder is the new fighting game by Seth Killian, former Capcom employee, former writer of the excellent Domination 101 articles that anybody who plays any fighting game or plays any competitive game period should read. They're just really good dossiers of the right mindset to approach competitive games with, written back when Seth Killian was a little more abrasive, but they are still relevant even today. Seth Killian has a vision for fighting games where motions and special move motions and whatnot aren't a factor, and to that effect, Rising Thunder features none of them. It's an 8-button fighter, which is unfortunate because my stick doesn't have 8 buttons, but you have light, medium, and heavy attack, 3 special buttons for 3 different special moves, and then you have a throw and a super button. And the best way to describe it is kind of a footsie-based fighter like Street Fighter, but without needing to do special move inputs. So, let's say you want to do, there's a character named Dauntless, and Dauntless has a target combo, a chain combo, which is just stand medium, stand heavy. And let's say you want to do stand medium, stand heavy into special 1. Just hit stand medium, stand heavy, special 1. Bam, you don't need to do stand medium, stand heavy, buffer into quarter circle forward, and light, or something like that. Which I was still doing by accident, even though I was playing it on my stock 360 pad, because my stick doesn't have enough buttons, right? It has a few interesting ideas. I do have this fighting game design doc that I'm always perpetually working on, which has 2 modes, one of them a Street Fighter-like mode, and another with Smash Brothers style direction plus button for specials. In this game, since each special move has its own button, that means characters have 3 special moves, no more, no less, and you can switch what each button is. Like, each button has 1 of 2 options, they're not all implemented yet. Holding directions plus tapping the button gives you different variants of the special.
Okay.
The game basically plays like a Street Fighter game, but you don't, for people who just don't get special moves, don't get what a quarter circle is, they should be able to grasp it. Even people like me who do know this, but don't want it to be in every damn fighter because enough is enough already, we get it. You know, it's cool to see this kind of game come out and to do away with that. And it isn't just about putting specials on buttons. This fighting game experiments with the idea of specials being on cooldowns. You see your 3 icons for each special button, and when you use one, depending on the variant you use, whether or not it gets hit or blocked, it incurs cooldown, which works like any MMO button. It shows 3.9 seconds left, and it counts down slowly so you can use your special again. And that does have an impact on how you can zone with characters, like the Ryu-style character, Chell. She has to be mindful of when she can zone you with projectiles, because the cooldown gets affected by if you block it, if you dodge it, if you get hit by it or not. So, ideally she wants to keep you blocking them so she can throw them, right? I had a lot more thoughts written down. If you go to my Twitter at HandsomeFatman, and you'll at some point there you'll see my thoughts on the damn thing. Other people have more in-depth thoughts because there were some things I didn't know about the game. Like there's a special meter where you can assign it to be either a burst gauge, which gets you off combos, or a Roman cancel gauge, which just lets you extend the combo further. And you pick before a match which of these two modes you want to do, and you'll pick whichever one is best for your character. Most characters probably don't want to use the burst one because this isn't Guilty Gear, so there aren't going to be super long 75% combos you need to burst out of. One of the thoughts that I have about the game. It looks super pretty. The UI is very reminiscent of Blizzard's upcoming Overwatch. It's very clean, very easy to see what each meter does. It's online only at the moment. There's no local versus right now. And I'm not sure if there's going to be, because one big aspect of this game is that you can see your opponent's life bar and you can see their super gauge, but you do not see their kinetic bar, which is what governs either the burst or the Roman cancels, and you do not see their special cooldowns. You do not see this. And I'm not sure I agree with that, because that's information I want. I want to know when a certain special of theirs is on cooldown or not. But I guess, at least for this alpha build, it was decided you don't get to see that. And I'm not sure how I feel about that just yet. The online...
I think that's just fine.
Elaborate.
Why should you see, if I use a variation that does different effect and you block it, why should you know which version I threw out? Why should you know when it's on cooldown? It's another part of the mind game.
Good call. Going for. Good call, but then there's another disconnect here. What if this game does have local versus?
Based on just that, I say don't.
Don't do local versus? You can't have local tournaments in Rising Thunder? That would be a mistake. This is a well-made fighter so far.
It would require two machines.
Yeah, but why bother? Why not just show that information to both players?
No.
Okay, you're not answering me. Why?
Because I can see how a game dev would decide that this is part of the mind game. Depending on how much your cooldown changes on those variables. If I know you're going to block a special, and I throw out one that's going to do an effect, I'm going to get my cooldown back faster. It becomes part of the mind game. You have to start wondering, okay, did I block one that was supposed to really hurt me, or was it one of the effect ones? Okay, is this it? Is it now safe for me to do this, or is he about to get this back right now?
Is that mind game worth being unable to play this game on tournaments locally?
I'm pretty sure tournaments would just go ahead and hook up two machines.
Yeah, you could do that, but I'm still not sure how I feel about that. That is a big,
it's a big change.
It's a big change, and that is a huge thing. That is a huge hurdle to introduce for what I feel is very little gain. Okay, I get that there's a design choice that they don't want people to see cooldowns, but eventually you're gonna figure out which variants hit you based on how much you got stunned, how much block stun you suffered, how much recovery they had, etc. So you might as well just unobfuscate it right now and show it to me, and that way we don't need to worry about whether or not local multiplayer can work. But I hear what you're saying, too, so I guess we'll see. For now, it's just online multiplayer, and they don't show you certain aspects of the opponent's bars that seems unusual to me, but the characters in it, it's robots and they're piloted by people, and the voices you hear are the people inside. And there's some cool touches, like the Italian girl will sometimes speak in Italian and sometimes in accented English. And the character I use, Dauntless, she piloted by an American woman named Sam, who's pretty slick. I'm in love with her voice. they each seem to have kind of their Street Fighter archetype. Like Dauntless is a lot like Dudley. So all punches, has an overhead punch that can be comboed into other things, moves that generally rush her forward and punch things, right? Chell is your Shoto variant. She has a fireball, she has a dragon punch, and she has a move that involves doing multiple kicks that advance her forward. So basically your dragon punch, your Shoto, basically. Supers are a lot like Street Fighter 4 or 5, where they're kind of cinematic, but not overly so more like 5. You have a bar that fills up for super, it carries over between rounds. Supers are one button, and all seem to start up very fast. Like the grappler character has like a 1-frame grab tied on this button. Now that's big because, and this is kind of what I wanted to talk about bringing this up, special move motions do have a purpose beyond just being something for players to discover. That's not even the big deal anymore with move lists being online. It takes time to input a motion, which needs to be factored in if your game has either a mode that you can do specials with one press, or if your whole game is designed around it. The character I use, Dauntless, she has a special that starts up supremely fast. Big recovery, but even jabs, even in some cases I could punch jabs with this thing if I blocked it and just tapped the button, bang, 1-frame special instant. You could buffer that in Street Fighter so that your motion doesn't take any amount of real time, but if you were going to just throw the move out there, you would need to buffer in a Dragon Punch motion or something to that effect. That's Rising Thunder for me so far. I'll have much better impressions when I play it more. I like Seth Killian's vision. I like that this is, between this and the Fantasy Strike Fighter that is in its alpha, it seems like there's more of a push for fighters that aren't fetishizing execution. Even though there is execution in this game, it's not execution that escapes the layman. But I like, this is kind of what I want to talk about. What do you feel about special move motions? Is there time passed? Is there room in a fighter to have 2 of them, like my design doc? What do you think of them personally? How have you always felt about them? What about fighters that don't use those motions, like Smash Brothers? What about Ryu being a guest character in Smash Brothers, having those motions to do better versions of the specials?
Here's the thing. Especially for home consoles, I actually liked how BlazBlue did it. You could actually assign one of your special moves or your super to a single button press.
I'm going to give you a caveat to that one. That mode is garbage. And that doesn't get allowed in tournaments because all it does is just raw assign that to a button that's the worst implementation of that. Because when you do that, that means a move is being put onto a button with no thought into how it was designed. That's why you don't have one-button Sonic booms. Because Sonic booms are designed to start quickly and recover quickly. And the reason why is because there's a charge involved. Like, BlazBlue has the... Why are you even bringing this up? I'm trying to have a serious conversation bringing up the worst implementation possible of this...
Can I finish?
I don't want you to, but okay.
I like how Skullgirls plays. I don't mind having to do a quarter circle, a half circle, etc. Don't mind that at all, actually. The reason why I brought BlazBlues is that some of the supers in that game were execution heavy, to say the least. And for somebody like me to get them out on a competitive level, just don't even try. That's why I stopped playing it. But yet, while I was playing it, I at least was able to start seeing some of the moves based on that button.
Okay, that's fair.
So the idea of having a button that you can assign things like that to, you're basically turning it into a what super do you want on the button kind of thing.
I see that. I still think that's a very bad implementation, but it definitely kind of highlights the need for fighters to address it. At the very least, motion should not be any more difficult than it needs to be.
Like, I don't want to have to do a Mortal Kombat finisher move to pull off a super.
Like the Raging Demon. Jab, forward, short, fierce.
I've pulled that off once.
Pocket Fighter doesn't count, where it's half circle and a button.
No, I'm not a fucking Pocket Fighter. I pulled it off in a Street Fighter game once.
Actually, it's super easy in Street Fighter 4 because you can do light punch, and then you can do forward, light kick, heavy punch all at the same time. So it's literally just 3 inputs. It's tap, and the move comes out. I really like that because that seemed a lot more intuitive to me. It would be way more intuitive to just throw it on a 720 or something, but that's just my feelings on the matter.
I hate 720s.
720s are super easy. 360s and 720s are way easier than half circles, because you can do them in any direction you want. The only consideration is, does your character jump in? How many frames does it take your character to jump?
Yeah, I prefer half circles and quarter.
It does keep you grounded. It is a subjective thing, for sure. I mean, I definitely want fighters that don't have motions. I still want fighters that do, but that seem to make execution easy, like Skullgirls or in the upcoming Street Fighter V. I kind of think there's room for both things, but I'm glad this is happening because, and sometimes, like, people in a fighting game community can take for granted that what they find easy, other people don't. It's subjective. The idea of doing quarter circle motions is probably keeping a lot of very potentially talented gamers out of this field.
In the days of the SNES, I will admit that doing Dragon Punches and doing Fireballs were very hard for me on an SNES controller.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. It just was.
There's also a philosophical question I want to pose to you. Let me propose an alternate history where Street Fighter 2 had 3 attack buttons and special buttons, not unlike Rising Thunder. Would anybody at all, in this new world where that became the gold standard and all fighters followed this formula, would anybody be like, you know what we gotta do? We gotta make a fighting game, but the special moves are like you do this quarter circle with a button.
Probably not.
Now keep in mind, I'm a guy who likes special move motions, and I actually prefer charge motions, which a lot of people can't grasp.
Freak.
I know, some fighting games don't even have those. There are no charge characters in Fighting Climax whatsoever. That's a bummer.
No, it means that all the characters are quite accessible to everyone.
It's subjective. I find charge moves way easier to grasp than motions. Because to me, a charge move is, I just have to hold this in any direction for a certain amount and tap another direction. And what's happening on screen doesn't affect my ability to hold it, so I can charge in between things. That seems super easy to me.
I've always hated charge characters.
No, I know, and it's subjective, which is what I'm saying. But despite being subjective and despite this being the landscape, if special move motions were never a thing, would we be demanding them? And I'm thinking, no, we wouldn't be.
No.
So, some food for thought, maybe. Maybe if you're a fighting gamer and you think that alternate history wouldn't go the way we think, let us know. Drop us a line. We are on to our next section. What's it called?
The TV and movies section that keeps TVs and movies out of the games section.
Sweet! Well, I suppose I need to add software to that as well.
No need for this one.
Yes. What's on the docket today?
Reality TV and why people have no taste. You want to start?
Sure. There has always been garbage television. There has always been garbage music. There has always been garbage media, period. There is no more or less garbage media now in general than there was in the 60s or the 70s or whatever era people like to romanticize. And believe it or not, there have been reality TV shows for as long as there have been television. You might know them. They're called game shows. They're still around. I think reality TV can be garbage or it can be good. It depends on the show. Lately, my mother got me hooked on a show called Chopped. Competitive cooking show, a lot less cutthroat than something like Hell's Kitchen or Cutthroat Kitchen. Funny enough, that's the title of one of these shows. In Chopped, there's a new set of 4 chefs every episode. They compete each round. Each one gets chopped until there's one left. But they're a lot more civil. They're lots more sportsmanlike. They get along. It's a lot less cutthroat. It's more about the skill. It's more about the creativity, and it's more about who really did do the best. I think that's perfectly fine reality television. But I think what you're thinking of when you say why people have no taste, if this is what you're thinking of, I agree. You're talking about the reality TV where they purposely only bring on people who are eccentric weirdos. The kind of reality TV show that's Survivor. I think that's what you're thinking.
In a way, yes. Now, I'm going to disagree with you that there is more bad TV today than there was in 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s kind of thing.
We'll have a fight on our hands.
Only because there are more stations and therefore more shows.
Sure.
And the reality TV that I'm talking about is you've got Alaskan Gold, you've got Jungle Gold, you've got
Storage Wars.
Oh, no, you got Storage Wars, you've got
Operation Repo. You've got the...
Didn't even know about that one. You've got the...
You're talking more about reality shows where we're following a person of a particular profession in their day-to-day.
Well, those are
You're not talking about a competition necessarily.
Those are all still reality TV.
No, I know. I'm not saying they're not. It's just I forgot to bring that up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking the shows like Big Brother, The Bachelor, Alaskan Gold.
Big Brother and The Bachelor competitions, though. So this is different from something like Duck Dynasty, where it's just a bunch of racists being racist.
Duck Dynasty is still a quote-unquote reality show where they're following some
fair enough.
asshole.
I'll stop splitting hairs. You're right, reality TV.
Reality show versus, CSI or...
So fiction.
Fiction shows, yes. Or documentaries.
Which aren't so much fiction, but are still documentaries. Yeah.
Yes.
Kind of reality TV, sort of.
Kind of, but those are still documentaries. Reality TV shows are not traditionally documentaries. I don't consider Duck Dynasty to be a documentary on racism, even though you could practically put them in the same category.
Well, I don't know. I think something like, what's that show about the crab fishermen?
I know the one you're talking about.
They had that crossover with Mythbusters one time.
Yes.
That's reality TV, but that's more of a documentary about the lives of these people, perhaps played up for drama. Is Mythbusters reality television? Because I argue it is. However, again, I'm being obtuse. I'm talking about technically. You mean more stuff where we're following day-to-day lives, whether or not it's for competition. Mythbusters is obviously a pre-done thing. Mm-hmm. They edit, they whatnot.
Yeah.
Reality TV does as well, but more to play up, the worst of human nature.
Yes. Well, and it depends on the show. Alaskan Gold, Jungle Gold, all those ones.
Lots of gold in your examples.
It's just because they're the titles that are on the top of my head.
Sure.
Family.
Sure.
I mean, they play up the drama in those, but you're not typically getting they're not highlighting the assholes in most of the shows. There's a couple of them that, yes, there is. Survivor. You're very much giving more screen time to the self-entitled assholes of the group.
And they pick the people for these
things. They do.
They aim for eccentric, unstable, real off-putting people.
And then throw in a couple nice guys.
Who will usually get eliminated right away.
Or will survive. I enjoyed the first couple Survivor seasons. And then stopped when my sanity was being attacked.
That's how I felt about Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah. See, and even right there, competition. Hell's Kitchen is a competition. But it's just like The Bachelor Survivor.
It is. It's terrible. It used to be so good, and I'm not sure why Gordon Ramsay's standards have lapsed. Although I really do know why.
Yeah,
it's money. But they pick the worst people.
They do. And they're not picking... And a lot of times they're not even picking people that are good at cooking.
Have you ever seen the British versions of Hell's Kitchen or Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares?
No.
It's important to note that the same host is on these, which is rare for British imports. But they are downright fucking civil compared to the American Hell's Kitchen, at least post-season 3 or 4. and especially the American Kitchen Nightmares, which is it's shock value. Like, this is the problem with the reality TV shows that are bad are just trying to do shock value and show you the worst of human nature. The ones that are good are generally trying to entertain and show you what people can do when they're trying to entertain and excel. But yeah, there's a lot of them, especially on Discovery Channel. Which, remember when Discovery Channel used to be about, shit that wasn't garbage?
Yes, I do. I mean, when I'm watching Discovery or one of the channels, food, the competitions I tend to like are the ones where it's like, okay, Cake Wars, for instance. I don't really care so much about the competition between them. I mean, they're all civil to each other. It's a competition, but they're not being assholes.
It's like Chopped.
It's like Chopped. I want to see the cool, imaginative stuff they come up with. I'm not interested in the drama. Because there shouldn't be drama in a competition.
Well,
not like that.
I'm gonna disagree wildly with that. Drama can be a huge part of competition, and arguably we should see some of it. It's just it shouldn't be played up purely for ratings. It should be enough of it to enhance what we're seeing. Like, we can see the doubt of each competitor, and even in some cases where each competitor has disdain for their fellow competitors, but it just can't be the highlight. It can't be the draw. It can't be, oh, look, Kramer gets audiences, let's put Kramer in front of the camera more. It can't be that.
I saw one part of a show the other day. I don't even know what the actual show was called, but it was basically two brothers with their own teams having to renovate a certain part of a house.
Okay.
And, it's drama within the teams. It's the two brothers trying to backstab each other. I'm looking at this and like, how is this entertainment? You're showing me two brothers basically trying to screw the other one out of winning because they're lying to each other. And then you go to the teams, and the teams are staffed with people who hate each other. It's like, okay, this isn't entertainment.
I'm going to argue differently. I think it is entertainment. Is it the best kind of entertainment we should be encouraging? No, we should not be doing that. We should be demanding that kind of stuff is put into where it belongs, and that's fiction. In fiction, dynamic character relationships and character adversity with their environments, with each other, these are all awesome things. These are all things that make compelling whole characters.
Sure.
The problem is that in trying to make reality TV about this, television producers are getting lazy. They're trying to capture that same drama, but they're hoping that since it'll happen in reality, you don't have to do things like hire writers and plan out your stories and whatnot, because it'll all just happen, right? And as long as people keep lapping it up and giving them money, they're not wrong.
I mean, I like Storage Wars. I've watched a bunch. I like Actually, I forget what that one's called. It's the one...
Pawn Stars?
Pawn Stars.
Is it Pawn Stars? That sounds right.
Just the ones about the pawn shops.
Mm-hmm.
That's neat to see what people bring in sometimes. What things are worth.
And even that show plays it up a bit.
Oh, it does.
There's a fair amount of people who go, it's like, why can't I sell you my dick? I'm going to make a scene in front of your cameras because you won't buy my dick off me.
Yeah.
What do you mean you won't chop my dick off? Operation Repo is a weird one because it's a bunch of people who actually are part of this family-owned repossession business, reenacting scenes they've really been in. So the scenes they enact are fake. They're not fake. They're staged, but they're representing situations they say they've been in.
Well, along that same line, the Tales from the ER.
So I'm assuming it's a similar idea.
Exact same idea. You've got actors reenacting things that have actually happened in the ER.
There's a Discovery show that's like this that I sometimes watch despite my better judgment. And I forget the name of the one, but it's the one that talks about plane disasters.
Yeah. There's a bunch of ones like that. Airplane disasters? Or something like that?
Aviation disaster. It's something to that effect, right? But I mean, yeah, my opinion of it hasn't changed. reality TV can be good or bad, just like any other TV can be good or bad, or any movie, or any genre of music, or any video game, or anything that is subjective.
It just seems more and more like you actually have cable. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
So I see stuff when I'm visiting people, and it just seems like the vast majority is like, I'm glad I don't have cable.
Without insulting anybody you're visiting.
Yes.
The rest of you keep in mind that you are watching a snapshot of their tastes, right? Mm-hmm. Tastes are subjective. They might not always agree with you. It might be that maybe you're watching, maybe your sample size is too limited.
Which brings us to sci-fi. Sci-fi and why a number of good shows have gone down after only one season.
Toys, money. We just watched the Nostalgia Critics video of why are there better kids cartoons now, and he brought up some excellent examples like Gravity Falls and Steven Universe, where they're not just concerned with selling toys, they're concerned with making a great product and reaching out to their audience, and it seems to work. We live in a weird era where that might actually be the thing, but we haven't always lived in there, so we get shows like Green Lantern, the animated series, or Megas XLR, or any number of examples that aren't animated, that aren't just not coming up to...
Firefly.
Not coming to mind. Firefly. Where they just get cancelled early because the money wasn't there, and the merchandising wasn't there, and...
Or the studio just didn't care.
Or the studio just didn't care, so you gotta move those aside. You gotta make room for the latest gross-out animated show by Seth MacFarlane, or you gotta make room for, and I don't count Bobby Burgers in that category. Bobby Burgers is awesome, but that's not Seth MacFarlane either. Or you gotta make room for the latest reality TV show, or for the latest Japanese anime about a guy who powers up by drinking breast milk. I really don't want to talk about this anymore.
Oh, but Carlos, share what you know about the powering up drinking breast milk anime.
That is about what I know, and that's enough. What show has been cancelled lately that makes you think that sci-fi is getting a bum rap, which it always has been? Academy.
Well, outside of Academy Awards and everything else, it just seems like a lot of... If fans of a show aren't increasing the numbers week after week, the show's done. Too Human from last year had an awesome premise going on. Ratings were actually increasing, but the studio killed it because they had no faith in it. Whereas shows like Supernatural are going long after the topic's dead. Firefly had amazing consumer ratings, but Fox released it out of order, and then it's like, well, we hate the guy behind it, so fuck you, we'll cancel.
Can I just blame capitalism for all these, like I often wants to do?
Yes, you could, but in the case of a bunch of these, the demand was there.
If we lived in a Star Trek idealistic future where we had no currency, all of these shows would continue getting made just because there are passionate people who want to do it, and they have the technology and broadcast means to do so.
Yep.
So this is partly a money issue, because unfortunately, without interest, things die. And I'm so glad that Steven Universe has garnered interest.
But that's my point in this stuff. Especially in the sci-fi genre. Demand doesn't always keep a studio's interest.
We have to consider sci-fi tends to be more expensive to make as well. Say what you will about Game of Thrones, it's good that a fantasy series is so popular, and Game of Thrones probably takes a lot less money to shoot than any episode of Firefly. Because you have to worry about effects, whether practical or CG. You have to worry about set design, because it can't just look like here, or what's the point of it being sci-fi in the first place?
It's just sad sometimes.
It is sad, and I blame money for the most part. and audience interest. A little bit of it is up to us. Like, it's up to us plebs to fucking actually seek out the good stuff and watch it. Like,
this is why I'm hoping that more shows, more stations go online and give you the ability to only purchase that one station, so that they can actually see the demand is there from the online audience.
Some shows have thrived online, like Legend of Korra. Legend of Korra got to get good after it went online too, from what I've heard. It got to deal with certain subject matter things that shows have a hard time doing, unless they're Steven Universe.
Yeah, Steven Universe has kind of gotten a buy on that.
And it's not even a buy, it's that they don't overtly mention homosexual or non-heterosexuality. They just show it as normal and happy and accepted. And that is arguably better than needing to mention it. But there will be hell to pay if Rebecca Sugar ever overtly mentions it in an episode. And it won't be her fault. She shouldn't have to, but there will be. And you'll never see that in a Disney show, because even though Disney is very, like, LGBTQI,
Friendly.
all those other letters, friendly to people on the corporate level and on the consumer level, it is not when it comes to making its stories. So, well, I recall seeing storyboards of Gravity Falls with outright gay characters in it that got modified and removed. I'm surprised they got away with as much as they did with the officer and his assistant.
Yeah, but unfortunately that's played for laughs.
No, actually, I disagree. There is some stuff in Gravity Falls that's played for laughs that's problematic. No, their incompetence as police officers is played for laughs. Their fondness for one another is not.
Mm-hmm.
There is a difference between these two things.
I've heard a rumor that we might get our first Disney homosexual characters in episode 7.
Good. They should be in Star Wars. There's a rather large number of science fantasy nerds who would love to see everything in Star Wars be heteronormative. And, nope, I'm not going to say what I'm going to say. That's negative. I'm trying to be a kinder, gentler human being. I'm not going to say that I hope this bothers them, and that I hope that they cry salty tears at night, knowing that they're non-heteronormative characters. I certainly won't say they should bottle those tears and ship them to me at a nominal fee, and that I, will drink those tears, bathe in them, rub them on my genitals, use them as a masturbatory lubricant. I won't say any of these things. I will say that the kinds of people who hate that this is going to happen are the kinds of people who need to see it the most. So I hope so.
Please, continue to hold back.
Yeah, it's good to hold back. It feels good not having to say any of that stuff, man. I feel like something's been lifted off my chest.
Speaking of things to get off your chest.
What, is there something on my chest?
Why do people still let Adam Sandler star in /movies?
We haven't seen Pixels. We're not going to. Well, I'm not going to, and I don't think you want to either.
No.
The things I've read about Pixels disappoint me, because it's not that Pixels, like, reading about Pixels being bad, no shit, it's an Adam Sandler comedy. They haven't been good since The Wedding Singer, so I mean, and Adam Sandler, we know he can be an amazing actor, because he has been in roles that required him to show his chops for real, and we know he can do it.
50 First Dates.
50 First Dates. The Wedding Singer is one of them. The Wedding Singer, one of those weird ones that kind of, it's both an Adam Sandler goofball comedy and a good Adam Sandler vehicle.
I never liked that movie.
Not a fan?
No.
But you gotta admit that he's a great actor in it. He's playing a role that isn't his usual. It's kind of half his usual and half something he needs to think about, right? But yeah, 50 First Dates is a great example. The one where he adopts a kid. What the hell is that called? He adopted that kid and then it got taken away from him. He got taken away from him. And
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Don't tell.
And the worst thing I've read about Pixels, the thing I never wanted to read in a million years, is that it was boring. And that Adam Sandler just doesn't care. Because if this was 90s Adam Sandler in Pixels, if this was Billy Madison or Happy Gilmore, this movie might have still been offensive and dumb, but I would have had a good time. Because as dumb as Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore are, and they are dumb fucking movies, they are too much fun for me to give a shit how dumb they are. Because Adam Sandler is just so energetic, and he fights Bob Barker, and to hear that Adam Sandler is mailing it in a comedy, that is the real kick in the balls. Like, the things I read about Pixels being formulaic, I don't give a fucking shit. Every movie is formulaic. We've told every story already. We just tell variants. So, fuck the word, like, formulaic is not necessarily bad. It's formulaic. That doesn't make it bad. The real kicker is that I hear that he doesn't care. That's the problem. If he gave a shit about this ridiculous subject matter, great characters can save a bad plot, but you can't have great characters in a live-action movie if the actors playing these characters don't care. Mm-hmm. If they're mailing it in, that is not a great character anymore. That is a terrible character.
Yep.
It's why, like, the Sharknado movies are bad on purpose. The whole point of these movies is that everyone is in on the joke except the people in the movie. That's why everyone in the movie acts super serious, right? That's the joke of Sharknado.
That's the joke of it now. Sharknado 1 was meant... That wasn't slap your knee, yeah, we're in on the joke. Sharknado 1 was actually going for something.
No, it wasn't. It's Sharknado. It's Sharknado. It was always meant to be garbage. It's just snakes on a plane. But there are people who say, you can't criticize a movie that's obviously built to be this way. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Snakes on a Plane was meant to be funny, and it wasn't. Snakes on a Plane was meant to be goofball entertaining, and it wasn't. You can't be formulaic if you're gonna be the most ridiculous, high-concept, never-happened-in-a-million-years movie that's meant to just lampshade every bad Hollywood trope. You can't do that. Snakes on a Plane does. The Sharknado 1, at least, because I've yet to see 2, 3, and 4. I hear or 2 and 3, rather. I hear that they're better. But Sharknado 1 isn't entertaining. You can see the beats that were meant to get a laugh out of you, and they don't get a laugh out of you. So you make a comedy that's meant to be just, it knows how stupid it is, and it doesn't care. You need the people in it to kind of play, to give a damn, to give weight to that. Someone like Tara Reid in Sharknado was awful, because she's just an awful actress. She used to be good. Remember when she used to be the great actress hot girl in every movie? No, she's awful in it, because she's... Every character in Sharknado is trying. Every actor in Sharknado is trying except for her. And that doesn't work. And you can't have a movie like Pixels where someone isn't trying. Half the reason Men in Black 2 sucked is because Will Smith was mailing it in. This is something he remedied for the third movie when he realized, I kind of like being agent. J? Yes. K. Or is it K?
J.
He's J, okay. I've been blabbing on for a while. Adam Sandler, if he's just going to mail it in, maybe he just needs to stop acting. Do something that makes him happy. Yeah. Further thoughts on Adam Sandler? It's been just me talking about it for a while.
If he doesn't want to show up, doesn't want to put in any effort, give the role to somebody else.
Sure.
Anybody else. Good. It's a shame that something this cheesy is being called boring.
It can't be boring. You can't do a cheesy Adam Sandler Being boring is worse than being offensive for an Adam Sandler movie. Like, Don't Mess with the Zohan is wretched and gross in so many ways. But I wasn't entirely bored by it. They recycled jokes, and those moments sucked. But for the most part, I was laughing, even though it was gross and dumb. But that movie would have been worse if it wasn't gross and dumb and it was just dull. That would have been worse. That would have been worse.
Yeah, Zohan was,
I like things about it.
I like the idea behind it.
Fuck.
The execution.
Rob Schneider is history's biggest douchebag. But you can't fault him for mailing something in. He legitimately is giving it his all to be the biggest fucking cocksucker, I shouldn't say that word, that ever lived. like, you can do it all night long is the dumbest line in the history of the world. But he delivers it like he means it.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, maybe Rob Schneider should have been the lead of Pixels. Like, or what's Chris Farley doing these days? I mean, John Candy. I mean, Rowdy Roddy Piper. A lot of people are dying.
They're old.
Shoutouts to Rowdy Roddy Piper, rest in peace. From interviews I've heard of, this guy, he's had a tumultuous life, but it's an inspiring one nonetheless. And I will remember him as one of the most inspirational and funny heels and general funny wrestlers in the business. Voicemails. We have, Mailbag Corrections section. I have no corrections, but we have voicemails from Meowth, and I just saw an email notification. She's still sending them in, so we better get to it. Or we are going to be here for a while.
We already are.
Oh, do you want to take a break for 5 hours and come back later?
No.
We might have 17 more voicemails to answer, though.
No.
Damn, I swear to God, if you're going to your mail to look this up, I'm going to freak out on you.
You know SpeakPipe doesn't like my computer.
No, SpeakPipe is perfectly fine with your computer. You don't like the easy way of doing things, is the problem here.
Okay, there we go. Got them all right here.
Don't give me your lies and just fucking go to the site.
We're good.
No, we're not good. Go to the fucking site so we can see them and know that they're played. So we have the list.
I'm good.
I'm not. Go to SpeakPipe. This is not an option, Dave. If you don't go to SpeakPipe, we have a problem.
Well, I guess you've got a problem then. So sit down.
I can just play them from my phone if you're
Sit there.
I have my computer here. I'll just
Shut up.
I'll just open it up and we can do this easy thing that we should have been listening to a voicemail already.
Shut your Bible.
You are the worst sack of crap I've ever met.
Now that you're shutting up, let's play a voicemail.
Did you just say meow then? You make a pun off Meowth's name?
Oh,
This is one of our fans, Dave. You treat her with respect. You don't make puns. Puns are the biggest insult, and I will not have you making puns of our fans' names.
What? She's the cat's meow.
I'm so sorry, Meow.
Let's start with voicemail number 1.
Here we go. How many do we got?
7.
Oh, that's fine. I thought there'd be more.
Sorry, 8.
Hey Gatos, hey Dave, it's Meowth900 here. I'm gonna try recommending you another anime thing. So the anime I'm recommending you check out is Kuroko's Basketball. I really like that show. It's one of my favorite new anime. It's about a guy named Taiga Kagami, and he goes and enrolls in the high school basketball team. And then after he gets enrolled, he tries out, and he meets a white-haired guy named Kuroko Tetsuya. And they learn about each other, and they eventually get along. And Kuroko has this interesting ability where people don't know where he is. So he's like a phantom. And eventually they get along, and their team forms up. And then there's like a little backstory with the generations of miracles, and Kuroko Tetsuya, the white-haired guy, is a part of it. He used to be a part of it, but they all broke up after their middle school years. And when the team that Kuroko and Kagami are in, they eventually start facing off other high schools in big games. And then the main captain of the other high schools is one of the generations of miracles that Kuroko was a part of back in middle school. I recommend you check this out. It's animated by Production IG, so it looks really pretty. And I should recommend you anime read it. Why not? Check out Kuroko's Basketball.
Is there a werewolf, and is it called Teen Wolf? I'll put that on the list. Meowth, just like the one with the guy being powered up by breast milk.
No, we're not watching that. Also, okay, so this is a basketball anime with a ghost.
No,
and
just a guy who can hide his presence.
With a ghost. And So is this Danny Phantom Series 2? Where he's playing basketball? I'm all for...
I think you broke Carlos Meow.
I'm all for sports shows where people have powers and nobody bats an eye. Like, you remember Nintendo World Cup Soccer? Where you had special bicycle games?
Yes.
You know, in Japan, that was just a bunch of high school soccer teams or something, which is why they all had powers.
Of course.
But I'm all for an anime about a sport where people can, like, set the ball on fire with their mind.
It would definitely make basketball less boring.
Hey, NBA Jam's a fun game.
Yes, because it's kind of absurd.
Mm-hmm.
But real basketball, my god, is it boring.
Get into, like, that ball on fire.
It's on the same level as frickin' baseball.
Baseball's a pretty dull sport. But you know what would make it much more exciting? Bad News Baseball. Even that was boring. But it had those cool anime cutscenes.
Sure. On to number 2.
Oh, and another anime I recommend you check out if you ever watch Kuroko's Basketball is the anime Free. That's the anime about those guys who do the swim team. I watched it, but it was like really like after all the hype died down. Like I watched it around the same time as I watched Attack on Titan. And my thoughts with Free is that it was really, really great. I liked all the characters. And they even hint at the characters being gay. So Carlos, I think you would like that. And the animation also looks pretty in Free. So that's a plus. And that's all I got for Free. And other sports anime, they're all really long and really crazy, so I won't really recommend you those. So only Kuroko's Basketball and Free I'm going to recommend to you now. So yeah, that's my anime recommendations for this podcast. I hope you enjoyed them.
So, Free is on our list. You don't want to watch it?
It's on Carlos's list.
It's on our joint list, but you don't have to watch it. I won't force the issue, of course, but I mean, like, maybe it's best if I watch it alone, because it might be, completely new. No, that's the end of my sentence.
Okay, I've recently finished binge watching some live-action shows, because I know that's, like, super rare. I don't really watch live-action all that much, but, I might as well recommend you some of those. Parks and Recreation, that show is funny. I know a lot of people like to compare it to The Office, but I kind of like Parks and Recreation more than The Office. I think it's mainly because they didn't have, like, a really bad season. They just went along with the characters just being their own crazy personalities, and I just went with it. I thought it was really great. And Doctor Who is another thing I recently finished binge watching. I don't think I can really recommend it. It's really long. The first season's good, the second season's alright, the third season's the worst. It kind of gets better from there, but it's tied down because it's got the family rating, so they have to shove romance. Nobody can actually die, so it's kind of lame. So I'll only recommend you check out Parks and Recreation. I think it's on Netflix, but you're in Canada, so maybe you don't have it. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. Parks and Recreation is good. People should watch it. It's really good.
I occasionally catch a Parks and Recreation episode on comedy, and what we have here is the Comedy Network. It's not Comedy Central. We have ghetto versions of what you guys have there. So instead of Comedy Central, we have just comedy, and instead of Cartoon Network, we have Teletoon, which is worse in every possible way. Parks and Rec is fine. It's a fine show. It's like The Office. Having binge to watch The Office, I don't think it's the kind of thing I want to binge watch again. But it is a show that I don't turn away from when it is on.
I don't watch too much TV myself. Was never one for The Office, and from what I've seen of Parks and Rec, just not something I'm that interested in. So I will let the other fine folks of Canada watch it, and they can enjoy it from me.
You know what's not good, though? Sword Art Online 2. Oh my god. A couple weeks ago, they had that rape scene between a I forget what the guy's name was, but he tried going after the blue-haired waifu girl. And this is weird because it's in real life. And she let him into his house. And he just went all crazy mode. I don't know. Dave, can you explain that? What the hell? Freaking, that freaking guy just decided to, like, make that girl. I don't know. That show was so weird. And it started off good, too, because they just defeated Death Gun, and it was all happy, and then, like, that happened in the last 10 minutes. That got me mad. Ugh. Man, Sword Art. Why is Sword Art so popular? There's edgier stuff out there that's actually good. Good lord, it's trying to be a freaking Game of Thrones of anime or something. I don't know, man. It's a good thing Toonami has Kill la Kill and Michigo and Hachian before freaking misogyny art online. Ugh. Okay, that's my rant. Dave, please tell me it gets better. Man, the show is so lame. I feel like I'm dying every time I watch it.
Dave, I have implored Meowth to stop torturing yourself with Sword Art Online. If you have a heart, you are going to do the same thing.
You can't see this right now, Meowth, but I'm basically plotting it.
He's plotting. He's plotting. He's scheming.
I'm doing an Evangelion,
He's doing a Gendo Ikari.
Gendo Ikari here. Okay, so.
Yeah, please explain. Okay, actually, hang on. Let me just assume the position.
Carlos has his head in his hands as he's preparing to wait for this. Okay, that rape scene was fucking stupid! You said you've read a little bit about what happens in Sword.
Yeah, 1. And nothing about Sword Art Online 2, because I couldn't stand to read anymore.
Okay. I will condense this.
Please condense it.
Kirito is hired to go into this game, into this MMO shooter.
Okay.
Because
his experience with...
Well, his experience, but what happens at the beginning...
See, that makes sense. This is actually a good premise so far.
Okay, so, the series starts off with a guy walking into a bar, and there's a televised show in the game happening about strengths of different character builds. You know, the sort of thing that people talked about on forums and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he points a gun at the screen, shoots this one guy, all of a sudden that guy disconnects and doesn't log back in. And the guy dies in real life. So the guy who Kirito had talked to, who had found out about Asuna before as a favor, he hires him to go into this game to see if there's any chance this can be happening. Because they don't believe it. Because, like, the new VR helmets and everything else, they can't even fry a person's brain anymore, let alone give them a heart attack. Okay?
Okay.
That's the premise.
Yes.
Premise is fine.
Premise does not sound horrible.
Execution, however, oh my god!
Not shocked.
So, when he logs into new said game, he ends up...
Please tell me that's the name of the game.
No. It's,
you know what? I don't care. Continue.
Gun Gale Online.
Yay.
And the reason why they can't really do anything in here they're sending him is it's not a local server. It's run in America. It's actually one where you can actually earn money in tournaments. So he goes in, and first gag number 1 is he ends up with a rare avatar, which is a feminized version of him. He's not an outright chick, but he looks like a chick. Ha ha. Ha ha. So, of course, he's trying to find his way around stuff, and he runs into waifu number whatever. 5 if you count the cousin.
His sister.
Even in both versions, she's his cousin.
I know, but she's his sister.
Yes. Yes. Waifu number 5. She helps him out, mistakes him for a girl, everything else. We fast forward 10 episodes.
Oh, thank God we fast forwarded.
they're in the main tournament, and they run into this guy who is obviously one of the PKers from fucking Sword Art. Okay? He actually, during this tournament, kills a couple guys who are, they figure, dead now in the real world. The chick that he's with is one of the targets, and they figure this out. So they work together to get rid of everybody else but this guy. She has a panic attack. By the way, her psychosis is that when she was young, she ended up, during a robbery at a post office, saved her mom by pulling a gun out of the guy's hands and shooting him. So she has a trauma about holding guns in real life, which she's been bullied with. In the game, though, she joined the game to try and get over her psychosis. I'm cool with that.
Dave, I'm going to need you to condense harder.
I'm trying, okay? I'm trying.
Like, get some more vices on this thing.
So, Kirito has figured out that there is... They'd already decided there was no way that he was killing people within the game. So, shocker, the guy would have to have somebody on the outside causing the person to die.
I'm going to need you to go back and say Kumashok instead.
Kumashok.
Okay, thank you.
So, they figure out that at that point in the final episode of that first half of the season, that there's got to be somebody in her room waiting for when this death gun guy, before he kills a person, he looks up at the camera, which you can actually see the video camera things, and he does a specific, cross motion and everything else, and then shoots them with a specific gun he's got. Kirito figures out that there has to be somebody in the real world, right there, ready to give the person a lethal injection of air, thus simulating a heart attack. Okay? We're all in the same picture? Or at the same part now?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yes, I get it. So, Kirito figures out who the fuck it was from Sword Art Online, who this guy is, which means that they can now track down and actually arrest the fucker. He defeats him with, her help. She knows help. Yeah, that was her name. And so, they have a whole joking thing where, well, now it's you and me in the tournament, one of us has to lose kind of thing. So she jokingly, okay, pulls out a grenade, tosses it to him, and hugs him, and they both blow up, therefore both making him the winner. Ha 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 ha. She wakes up. There's nobody in her place, she's checking things around, and the guy who comes to her door is a fellow student at her school who has been helping her get over her trauma, who throughout the first half of the season has actually shown as a encouraging person, a person who you thought she could be in a relationship with. Kumashok! He is the guy who's helping the guy in the death gun in the game. So when she figures this out, he attacks her. Well, and she'd actually told Kirito that he didn't have to come. She told him her address. And he told her that she should phone the cops just because of what was going on. Well, she left the door unlocked when the guy came in. So she's fighting back finally. She's not being passive like she would have been before, as if she's grown because of everything. And then Kirito opens the door and knees this fucker right in the face. He goes flying, and then they basically end it there with him looking at her and saying, "Run," as he's getting ready to pummel the fucker, and she just sees his in-game avatar over it, and she realizes who has come to save her. That is what that was. The fact they turned him into a rapist that attacked her there, he was supposed to kill her if she had been shot in the game. So the fact that he knocked on her door and was trying to play the whole friend card still, just more of Sword Art's. This first half of the season, much like Pixels, its biggest crime is that it bored me to fucking tears. And yes, I know you were bored by Sword Art Online Season 1. Now, Meowth, should you continue? Yes. Because you're about to get a 4-episode little mini arc here, which goes back to actually seeing them play the fucking game and have fun, followed up by the Mother Rosario segment, which is actually focused on Asuna and actually probably the best thing that they've done throughout Sword Art.
Run, Meowth.
So
run far away.
That's
Do not believe Dave when he says to continue.
That's my suggestion. I figure you've come this far. You're come to the best part of what they've ever done. The next segment almost feels like it was written by somebody else.
Run away, Meowth. Run away and never return.
In fact, you're probably, by the time of this episode coming out, you've probably seen episode 16 or 17, unless you stopped right when you sent this voicemail in. So you're probably already seeing what I'm saying by the 4-episode or 3-episode filler. But yeah, once it gets into the Mother Rosario stuff, it's actually written like somebody who knows what they're doing.
It's a trap. Run. It's a trap! Your mind cannot repel firepower of this
Idiocy.
It's Sword Art Online. It's automatically garbage. Don't do it to yourself, Meowth.
Next voicemail.
Oh man. The only thing that made it worse was the fact that the blue-haired waifu was voiced by Rukia, and the crazy guy was voiced by Ichigo. So it was like some weird Bleach fan fiction that happened. Whew. Oh man. That show is like the lamest thing ever. Anyways, that brings me to my next question. Carlos mentioned Steven Universe fandoms being the worst thing ever. So I'm going to ask you guys, who has the worst fan base? Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, One Piece, Fairy Tail, Sword Art Online, and Madoka Magica. Which has the worst fan base?
Yeah,
Wow!
There's a correct answer to this question. It's Madoka Magica's, followed very closely by Sword Art Online's. Madoka Magica's, when I was trying to research stuff about the show, and I was still pretty obsessed with it, and we'll get those anime reviews sometime after I can finally bear to watch that garbage fucking series again to do the editing. I had to put up with people who have no taste talking about how awesome Madoka Magica is. And anytime someone would bring up a valid counterpoint, no matter how well worded or how politely written, it was always torn down with the worst logic. There are a lot of really cool people who like that show too, and I don't know why. It's trash. So I'm going to say that's the worst fan base. I haven't really dealt with Sword Art Online's fan base, but they're fans of Sword Art Online, so I'm going to assume they're second.
Yeah, I'm gonna, from my side, I'm gonna agree with you on Madoka. Because I've gone down that rabbit hole, and holy fuck.
It is like the worst Wonderland. The worst Wonderland.
I'm not gonna put Sword Art in the top 3, actually, because here's the thing. A lot of Sword Art, a lot of fans who like Sword Art, they realize what they're seeing. They realize they like something that's really not written very well. I'm not even gonna talk the extremists, like the mega fans. Your average fan of Madoka is just bad. I'm gonna put
Shout out to our Madoka fans who listen to this show.
Yeah. I'm gonna put Dragon Ball as second on there.
Yeah, people are still pissed about Superman.
Dragon Ball fans tend to be very loyal and very stupid in their logic. They've kind of fallen for the show's logic, and everything has to sort of fit in on that. Third those Bleach. Holy fuck, you people are stupid.
Yeah, they like Bleach, and I don't get that either, so.
The rest are just, yeah.
Fuck you, Madoka Magica.
So that Steven Universe bomb was very crazy. Oh man, I felt so bad for Garnet. Oh, I can't believe Steven Universe also used a metaphor for consensual sex. So, I mean, holy moly. Why can't all shows do this? That stuff's, super important, and yet, everyone in North America just, glosses over sex for some reason. It's like they pretend it doesn't exist when it does. And it's that's why you see these teenagers just doing it, and then getting pregnant. In freaking high school and middle school. It's just what the hell? We need more cartoons that can teach us, about consent and why you should know to trust the person before you do that stuff. It's oh man, Steven Universe, you're such a good cartoon. Anyways, did you like that Steven Bomb? I certainly did. It wasn't as good as the last Steven Bomb, but it was also it was good. Steven Universe isn't bad at any time, it's just good. It's a good cartoon I can watch. Holy moly, that show is so good. Steven Universe, we need you in more cartoons. We need your writing in more cartoons.
I think this Steven Bomb was way better than the last one.
I wouldn't say it's way better. I think it was better, but Steven Universe is so consistently good that I don't want to say anything's way better, because that implies something is way worse.
I guess.
I liked Week of Sardonyx because we got to see so much about Pearl.
Yeah.
We've known for a long time that Pearl can be petty and seriously messed up, and we got to see that in full force. Her composure breaking when she's caught things when she knows is wrong. Ruby and Sapphire's anger over it. Amethyst just wanting everything to be better because Amethyst was jealous of her until she realized what she was doing. Oh my lord, Steven Universe is so good all the time. And you're right, not enough shows, period, stress the importance of consent. And this can be... We have this ingrained in our fiction, not just our fiction, everywhere. Everything from, a crying person suddenly getting forced into a kiss being seen as romantic instead of, kind of gross. But this is iconic in our romantic fiction. There was a time, believe it or not, that I thought Sword Art Online's Kirito was quite an upstanding gentleman, because he seemed to be just a general nice guy stuck in some bad fiction. But even he kind of, he lost my respect when, Asuna's crying and hugging him, and, without kind of asking her, he just kind of rushes in for the kiss, and it ended up working out. But I'm like, Kirito, man, you're better than that, and you're better than trying to fight for her freedom as a condition. She's not an object. You're better than all these bad tropes, and it ended up disappointing me. A lot of anime needs a lesson in what consent means, and a lot of fiction everywhere on Earth needs a good lesson of what consent means. It is super important and never touched on, and that's not okay. Okay.
I'm just gonna basically repeat.
Sure.
So I'm still waiting for that last episode of Blood Blockade Battlefront to come out, because Japan hates us all. It really does. I mean, Japan, you can delay Moe Blob Show number 1000, but don't delay freaking Blood Blockade Battlefront. Good lord, man. Good lord. Yep. So how's Blood Blockade Battlefront in English been for you guys? I hope that Japan gets his shit together and puts the last episode out somewhere so I can watch it. So that way, the dub can get finished too. 'Cause that would be lame. I mean, Japan, what's wrong with you? Bring out that last episode of Blood Blockade Battlefront, please. I want to see it.
And actually get the anime reviews out for it. The simuldub of Blood Blockade Battlefront is one of the best dubs I've heard in an anime, period. And this is just a simuldub right now.
The reason why the last episode of Blood Blockade Battlefront hasn't hit yet in Japan, or at least as of your message a week ago, is simply because they realized the last episode couldn't be a half-hour episode and actually finish. They had to make an hour-long episode, and they have had one hell of a time trying to get any of the broadcasters to take on an hour-long episode of the show. I actually read up on it, and nobody's willing to give them the hour block for some reason.
An hour blockade.
I haven't heard music this fitting and this awesome since LR.
Licensed by royalty?
Yep.
I don't remember a lot of licensed by royalties music.
I bought the soundtrack. I love the music in it so much.
Yeah, I hope you get to see Blood Blockade's finale soon, Meowth, and don't worry, it'll be a couple of weeks after it comes out in Japanese that Dave and I will watch it, because we've been sticking to the simulcast. So.
Yeah, not suddenly transferring to the sub.
Hello, Carlos. Hello, Dave. I'm going to be in a Dungeons & Dragons campaign thing on August 9th, 2015 at 4 p.m. EST on Exposure's Twitch channel. So please check it out whenever you have the chance. Or watch it when it's on YouTube later. I'll probably link it to you, maybe, if you want to watch it. I don't know how I'm going to do in D&D. I have strange feelings like I'm going to fuck up somewhere. But other than that, I hope I eventually learn what to do. Because Dungeons & Dragons has so much crazy info I gotta remember. Anyways, have you guys ever played Dungeons & Dragons? Because this will be my first time playing it.
Hey, One Nut. Have you ever played?
Sporb One Nut, my goblin monk, will not be mocked by the likes of you and your Mary Sue-ass fallen Queen of the Elves character who my later half-orc bard left to die.
You mean my half-drow, druidic priestess.
Stop talking.
Who outlived you simply because she wasn't an idiot and rushed the giant fungus monster.
I wanted to kill that character, so...
Yes,
and
you were
our GM, friend of the show, Isaac, who's been on the show before, we need to get him on for another interview or something.
Yep.
He was our GM,
and we were playing bad guys.
He let me describe my kill on myself, so I had a lot of fun with that. So, first of all, shoutouts to Paul of the Burning Barrel podcast. That's Exposure, at EXFAUXSURE on Twitter. I was a guest on their show a couple times when it was still the Pixel Response podcast. I did want to see if he wanted to come on and be a guest on ours, because I kind of feel like, the obligation that I should offer, since he so graciously hosted me twice.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't want to do it just because it's obligation, so I kind of floated the idea to him of, do you want to kind of talk with us about Saturday morning cartoon intros? He's probably busy. I didn't get a response yet, so I'm assuming he's busy. But still, shoutouts to him, and I'll definitely put a link up in our show notes with his channel, and we'll let people know on our show notes that you will be up there and playing D&D. I'll try to remember to tweet at that time as well. Dungeons & Dragons, or the campaign we played with Isaac wasn't Dungeons & Dragons, it was Pathfinder, which is a D&D offshoot, so a lot of the same things apply.
Yep.
Honestly, we played with a good group of people who didn't mind me embarrassing myself for a laugh, so a lot of this advice is going to assume that everyone there is going to be
don't worry about screwing up. I mean, really, how the game goes is dependent on not just the people you're with, but also how the GM decides to run your games.
GM or DM? It's DM.
GM.
Dungeon Master, right?
Game Master.
Game Master. Okay, either one works. Either one works.
Ultimately, I mean, pick a personality for your character. If the group is going to do a lot of, act like your character when you're doing stuff, get into it.
So role playing, which is the whole point.
Get into role playing your character, kind of figure out how that character would act, whether you're going to be sneaky and everything else, and kind of choose a character class that goes along with your personality. Don't choose a massive underdog like Carlos's one nut goblin bard.
Goblin monk.
Yeah, if you'd have been a bard, you would have been useful.
Well, that's who I rolled after. I rolled a half-orc bard after.
I know. You chose a character and a class that shouldn't have even gone together.
Well, actually, the bard was a lot of fun because since my spells involved a somatic component, whether it was singing or dancing or playing an instrument, I could I could factor that into my roleplay. I remember one time we were all silenced, and I did a merry jig and it buffed our attack, and I kind of did the jig on the table as we were playing to kind of demonstrate it, and I would always sing the spells out, and it's embarrassing, but I don't care, man. I'm there to have fun. I'm there to be an eccentric fucking bard, because my bard was an asshole who believed in pure neutrality. He was true neutral, and he left people to die as often as he'd save them.
Which is hilarious, because we were playing an evil campaign.
A true neutral character fits onto an evil team by virtue of being true neutral.
Yes. Fair. But we were really evil to guys that we...
Okay, a few testicles got splattered on walls and hung as effigies, I get that. But...
that paladin we took out,
really... that paladin was fucked up. Like, I think part of his genitalia was eaten by our one party member or something.
The eyeballs?
The eyeballs were like... There were a lot of bad things we did to that paladin.
We even shocked our game master, Isaac.
Yeah, he was like, what are you guys doing to this poor guy?
He's like, dudes!
Some advice from me. Make sure you stick to your character's alignment in your roleplay. If you're playing a lawful evil character, suitably be an asshole with rules. If you're playing a lawful good character, you always got to do the right thing, despite what you may personally believe. You can have a disconnect between how you feel about a situation and how you know your character will feel about it. I say go with what the character feels, because even if your character dies, you can just reroll a new one and continue, right?
Depends on the GM.
If you're playing with an asshole GM, don't play with them again. I don't know if it's Paul GMing. I have a hard time believing that Paul would be a bad GM, just because, based on my own interaction with him, it seems like he knows exactly what'll make a game fun and how to keep people involved in playing. If it's a GM who doesn't know what they're doing, then the only way you'll learn that is by playing with them, right? Like,
yeah, my suggestion is kind of do a little bit of research on what sort of character you want to do, and my suggestion is stick with them. Some groups don't do the whole resurrect with a new character.
Well, it depends. If always when I approach their Pathfinder campaign, I approach it under the assumption that these are characters that I may lose one day, so I'm going to have to reroll if they die. Which is why I threw mine away so greatly.
Yeah, some groups don't like that.
Oh well, the other thing is this, like, yeah, you're there for the group, but you're also there for yourself.
You're there to have fun.
When I teleported away at the end of the campaign and left all you suckers to die, I did it because I know my character wanted to do it, and I wanted to see that story play out. So he dimension doored his way out of trouble and left you all to die a horrible death.
Yep.
To Isaac's horde of monsters. It was a good time. You're there to have fun. And people are there to have fun too. But, you don't gotta make fun for someone else. They can find their own fun. Yeah. How many more voicemails do we got?
That is it for voicemails.
Alright, voicemails. Thank you, Meowth, for sending us voicemail. If you are Meowth, or if you are not Meowth, you should send us voicemail. Go to twofatguystalk.com, and then if you check out the right side of the page, you will see a send voicemail button. If you click on that, the little control will let you send us a voicemail. If you have trouble using that control, there are other ways you can send us voicemail. Just shoot me a tweet at HandsomeFatMan or at TwoFatGuysTalk, and I will help you out. What's next on the docket?
Kill Carlos.
Okay.
So thoughts?
We're going to have a blood orgy here. So I will be the sacrifice, and we got a group of people coming over who are just going to fuck my every orifice. My every bloody orifice.
Parting thoughts.
Oh, that's not a parting thought with you? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Windows 10 is going to be the end of Western civilization as we know.
It's not Skynet.
No, I think it's Skynet.
I think Skynet would make a better fucking browser.
But Microsoft always makes good web browser. I couldn't finish that with a straight face.
No, you couldn't.
Folks, thank you so much for listening to us. We are Two Fat Guys Talk. We are at twofatguystalk.com. As in, we are at the website, twofatguystalk.com.
Twitter at TwoFatGuysTalk. I'm at the Dude Hack.
I'm at HandsomeFatMan. You can find our podcast feed on our site or on iTunes. Just search for Two Fat Guys Talk. We slot right into your Apple device. Listening to us on your Apple device will make your Apple device perform better. If you want to listen to us on Android, I recommend using a good podcatching software. I use one called Pocket Casts, and we are on their directory just because I submitted us to their directory. Search for Two Fat Guys Talk, you should find us there too. We're available where all fine books are sold. If you go to Barnes & Noble and you ask for Two Fat Guys Talk, the individual behind the counter will immediately know what you're talking about and get you a copy of our podcast in mini disc form.
In Braille.
In Braille. It'll be a Braille transcript. You can go to any consulate, any embassy from any country on Earth, ask them about Two Fat Guys Talk, and they will provide you a copy translated into their local language. We're on the International Space Station. Just look for Two Fat Guys Talk. We are in the Canada corner of that one arm. Then we visit there one day a week. We just float around and do nothing. If you go there, we'll shoot the shit with you. Just say hi to us on the International Space Station. You can find us on Jupiter.
We're out.
The Great
I'm
Red
stopping this now.
The Great Red Spot is